Good evening, folks. I'm just going to fill the air a little bit till everyone gets settled, make sure that your sound is working. It's 7 o'clock in New York, so outside of my apartment building, there's still the one person who's doing the cheering. So there might be some noise in my background for the next minute and a half. Anybody else in New York having that experience? We'll let you share that later. In the meantime, I'm really just gonna fill the air for a couple of minutes till we officially get started and I introduce our event for tonight. So bear with us as people join in slowly. Thank you all for joining tonight and on the night before the eve of Thanksgiving. It's, I know, an interesting time this year, especially. Always an interesting time, though. Okay, folks, I think we're ready to get started. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Isaac Zablocki. I'm the director and co-founder of the ReelAbilities Film Festival, which is run out of the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. And we're very excited tonight to host this very special panel for Love on the Spectrum, the Netflix hit. It's really a phenomenon. I want to say that for those of you who are not familiar with ReelAbilities Film Festival, it's the largest disability film festival in the world. And we try to present films that I think Love on the Spectrum really captures some of the essence of the quality and progressive attitudes that we like to present that I think can really change perceptions and create more inclusion in our world, and at the same time celebrate an underrepresented minority population. 2020 is a year that will be remembered for many things, but I think it's also really a revolutionary year as far as the representation of people with disabilities, and maybe specifically because of this pandemic. People have had more of a chance to tune in to channels that they normally would not tune into, like little channels like Netflix. I'm joking, but tune into shows on Netflix that they had more opportunities to watch, and it has really broadened the voice of people with disabilities, and I think that might be a silver lining right there. We're going to have here a very special panel with some of the creators of the show and some of the participants in the show. And then we're going to open it to your questions. By the way, for those who have not seen it yet, this session is being closed captioned. So you can click on the live transcript to see the captions live. If you don't need, if you're speaking, it makes me very, very self-conscious. So I don't recommend it for everyone. We're happy to make this as accessible as possible. And to describe myself, and maybe each person as they introduce themselves can add a little description. I'm a white man with a receding hairline. That's usually what I go for. I think I've embarrassed myself enough, and I'm going to hand things over to Alex Lopinto from our Center for Special Needs here at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan, who will introduce our panel and lead the conversation, and then she'll hand it back during the Q&A session. Just to let you know, for the Q&A session, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, put them in the chat box, and we will put you on the air if your question is selected. Thank you, and over to Alex.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. My name is Alex Lopinto. I'm a program director in the Center for Special Needs. I specifically work with a community of adults called the Adaptations Program for adults with learning and developmental differences. I see a lot of them on the screen, which is really exciting. I'm so honored to moderate tonight's panel, and I'd love to introduce our panelists tonight. So we have Cian, who is the director and supervising producer. You can see him waving there. Hi, Cian. We have hi, thank you for being here. We have two incredible participants from the show. Chloe, can you wave?
Hello.
Hi, Chloe. And we have Thomas.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Thomas. And then we also have the incredible Jodi Rogers, who is the relationship specialist from the show. Jodi, can you wave? There's Jodi.
Yeah, hi, how you going?
Awesome. So as Isaac said before, we're going to have a moderated portion that I'm going to jump right into, because I know that when I was putting these questions together, there were so many. So I want to make sure that there's plenty of room at the end of the event so you all can ask your questions. So I'm going to hop right to it. So my first question is for Cian. And this question actually was submitted by one of our adaptation participants named Noam. So Noam is wondering, where did the idea for the show originate? And what drew you to this kind of work? And an additional question I have to that is, what was your involvement in the filming process?
Okay, well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining, and thanks for tuning in and being interested in our series, our little Australian series that has now kind of reached across the globe, which is really great. The idea for it originally came from, I had made 2 series before this that were about people with disabilities looking for employment. So those series were about trying to kind of find people's skills and talents and match them to a workplace, just given that within that space there was a lot of people who were unemployed and who were wanting to work and finding it difficult. So we made a couple of series, they were called Employable Me, and during that process we worked with and spoke to hundreds and hundreds of young adults on the autism spectrum. And we weren't just hearing stories about people wanting jobs, we were hearing a lot of stories about people wanting to find love, wanting to find someone special and wanting relationships. And that, for some people it was hard. I guess the important thing to note first up is that, we recognise, and all of you, I'm sure, recognise that the autism spectrum is really diverse. And, some people don't have trouble. Some people have a wonderful experience in finding relationships and in dating. But we did hear from a lot of people who found it hard. And we just felt like it was a great opportunity to be able to tell those stories and to really focus on that dating and relationships aspect of life, to try and raise awareness about this, and also just as a way to introduce the world to, well, Australia first, but then it happened to be the world, to a really diverse range of people who are on the spectrum, and to be able to show that the spectrum is really diverse, and you can never make assumptions about someone or just, think that autism means one thing, because it means something different in each and every person. So that's kind of how it came about. What was the second part of the question? Something about the process?
Yeah, so like during the filming, were you on set? What was your role during the filming process?
Yeah, so I guess, we made this series the way I've sort of always made my series, and I'm always there. Every day of filming, I'm there directing, and I'm also shooting second camera as well. So we're a really small team. It's just me, cameraman, sound person, and an AP, and that's it. So we try and keep it to a really small crew, because we don't want the experience to be overwhelming for people, and also we find that that's just the best way to try and tell authentic stories is to do it with as light a footprint as possible. So I'm there the whole time, and it's a great experience, and I've really enjoyed it working with these lovely people.
Speaking of these lovely people, Thomas, your infectious laughter, is it okay if I direct a question to you?
No, of course, go for it.
So when approached to be on the show, like what went through your mind? What were some initial thoughts you had? And then what made you decide, yes, I want to be on the show? And then a follow-up to that is the interview process, if you want to say a little bit about what that was like.
So, first up, being asked to be a part of the show. I'm just trying to remember how that happened. When we were initially asked if we wanted to be a part of it, it was, of course, I'm a bit of a media tart, I guess you could say. So I was very happy to put my hand up and get involved with it. Before we did this series, we Ruth and I we put our photo up on some website which was just putting faces on people with autism, just saying these are people with autism. And so we just put up a little photo of the two of us, and then that somehow found its way to the ABC, our ABC, not your ABC, who did a little short story on us with in sort of a late night news program just on people with autism and relationships. And then from that, the Northern Pictures found that story, and then they got in touch with us and said, "Hey, do you want to do this again?" And I was very happy to be a part of the initial news story. And so when I was approached to do the TV show as well, I thought, yeah, this is going to be good fun. So yeah, I jumped at the chance. Ruth was a little bit trepidatious about it, but yeah, no, certainly, I don't think we regret it. It was a lot of fun. What was the next question there? Sorry.
Yeah, just about the interview process, and maybe just a little
Yes.
bit about like what it's like having the cameras in your home and
yes. Like Cian said, it is a small team, so that I'm just trying to you could count them all on one hand. I'm sure. I'm just trying to remember, but it was quite a nice small team. So it wasn't like opening up our flat to a whole film studio and everyone. It was just a nice small little group that we could get to know, and they made it really easy for us. I think they were happy to take breaks when we needed it. They were happy to work around us, and it found it really quite a good what's the word? It was a really good environment, I suppose you could say. They were very, very kind, very understanding, and yeah, it was a lot of fun as well.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And I'm going to throw it over to Chloe. Same question about being approached for the show. What did that feel like? The process for you?
Well, I applied for the show because I had some of my friends and people talking about it, and I thought, I might have a look, see what it is. So I went on the casting thing, and I thought, why not? I signed up, and I think it was within half an hour, so it wasn't really that long. I got contacted for an interview, and we had a call. Well, we called, and we had a Skype interview, and they decided to film at my house. And the thing is, I didn't tell my parents that I was, because I didn't think that I was going to be on the show. It was like I thought, it's not going to happen, just do it for the sake of it. But I never thought I would actually be part of the show. So I remember I was calling because as soon as I got the message that they wanted to film my house, I was like, got my phone out, I was like, Mum, wait, there's going to be a camera crew at our house this weekend. But yeah, they were really chill about it. They were really supportive, but it was just one of those things that I never expected to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, go ahead, Chloe.
Oh, because and it was like great, like what Thomas was saying, like the camera crew was really supportive, and they worked around your times.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really great to hear, because as viewers we see pieces of that, but hearing it from you, the participants themselves, really holds a lot of weight. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we try and we kind of have a mantra, or the way that we try and operate is to remind ourselves all the time, and also to remind the participants that filming is on their terms, not on our terms. So, I've worked in TV for quite a long time, and I've done a lot of other series before this one where it's a very different kind of process. And it was really important to us to just make sure that people knew that it was on their terms, not on ours. It's not about, hey, we've signed you up for a TV show and you have to do this. It's really about when is good for you, when can we try and fit this in. So.
Yeah, and that works really, really well, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Another key player in this game, Jodi Rogers. You are such a crucial piece to this show, in my opinion, and also as a professional in this regard. I'm curious if we could learn a little bit more about your background and your methodology. You know, I love that the show really highlighted these, you know, one-on-one sessions you were conducting, and I just love to hear more about that.
I don't know how anybody ends up in jobs that they end up in, but for me, I've hung out and worked with autistic people for probably 30 years. I know you can't tell by my very youthful face, but yeah, my whole life has been with working alongside and with people with autism. So my background is I originally was a special ed teacher and then specialised in autism. And then as I was working within that field, what I was finding, and probably really similar to you, Alex, what I found is that as people were getting through their school years, then there seemed to be a drop-off in support for, you know, people in their late adolescence and into adulthood about intimate and romantic relationships. So I'm a bit of a nerd. So then I got a degree in counselling, but specialised in working with people who are neurologically diverse, and then went further and got a master's degree in sexual health counselling. So I currently have my own private practice, and my private practice specialises in just hanging out with anybody that communicates in a different way, and that's just not autistic people, but anyone who's neurologically diverse, to support them in relationship development, anything to do with sexuality, gender, or, you know, sexual orientation. Yeah, I don't know how I ended up here. Probably my greatest thing is that if you spend every single day of your life hanging out with autistic people, then your life is really fantastic. And it's, you know, for me, I've just ended up where I am because I hang out with great people.
And I think that was it came through in your work on the show. Just you're working with humans, whatever they bring to the table, you're meeting them where they are. And really, I just think the unique perspective that you bring is one that I'm hoping more people maybe outside of this circle can learn more about, bringing those, you know, specific strategies into their work, no matter who you're working with. So thank you for saying more about that, Jodi. I want to take 2 steps back. Something you brought up earlier, Cian, that I'd love to just ask more about, if it's okay, is about this intimate team of people filming, going into the homes. And something that I thought was really important about the show is that you highlighted these really intimate and potentially stressful moments. And I was curious, just in thinking about a specific example, when Michael, another participant on the show, is on a date with Amanda, and Amanda needs a break. She's like, I got to take a break. I need a breath. And you kept filming pieces of that. And I would love to hear more about what was the motivation behind what you decided to film and highlight in that moment.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing to say there is that with our filming, and I guess when we're filming a date in particular, so Amanda not being someone whose story we have been following up until then, you know, we had briefed her on what the experience was going to be like, and we have, I mentioned we have the team of 4, and one of those people is the AP, and the AP's role really is to just be there to kind of support the participants, but also to support the people that they meet as well. So it was really clear to Amanda that, you know, the AP who was with us at the time was there for her if she needed anything, and also made clear that if ever you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just put your hand up, and, you know, you don't have to continue with what's happening if you don't want to. So, yeah, I mean, you can see that in the series, you know, at the time, I just kind of, we reacted to it as the best way we thought we thought was appropriate, just giving her the space and giving her the time to step away. You know, we didn't sort of chase her with cameras to the other side of the room and get a camera in her face and ask her what was going on. It was really about, we just kind of sat it out for a while. The AP went and had a good chat to her. I went and had a good chat to her. And then once she was starting to feel a bit more comfortable, she was okay with the idea of just kind of wrapping things up by allowing Michael to come over and say, sorry, hope I didn't cause you any offense, and that he was okay with the date ending there. So that's kind of how we approach that. And, you know, I guess it's one of those things that you just try and approach things in the way that you think is best for the person at the time, really.
Yeah, I think it's important. We don't usually get to see the good and the bad of dating in this very human way. So I appreciated that moment, and also hearing from you that Amanda got to really play a role in how that moment went, that it was really about how Amanda felt. So thank you for saying more about that.
No worries.
Yeah. So Thomas.
Yeah.
You have the lovely Ruth in your life, and you have this unique opportunity for you to be filmed and then get to watch like how you interact with your partner. And I'm wondering,
I get to Netflix and chill watching myself.
Exactly. That's like the chill of the chill. I mean, that's an incredible opportunity you have. And I'm wondering, now that the show is out and everyone's talking about you and you get to watch you on screen, was there anything that you learned about yourself in watching yourself in that way?
Yeah, no, it was really sort of, oh, who's that on TV? It's me. Even more jarring, I think, was after Ruth and I got married, there were those sort of celebrity gossip websites saying, oh, our favorite stars from Love on the Spectrum have got married, and here are the pictures from her Instagram account, and that was quite funny. But no, watching the show, I think the biggest thing I took away from it is that I don't really suit short hair. But no, gee, I don't know. It was interesting to watch back, but I don't know if I particularly learned anything seeing myself from that other perspective. It was just really nice to be able to show my perspective to everyone watching, I think, which I don't know if I particularly, if I learned anything from watching it, but I hope everyone else has learned something from watching it.
Absolutely. You know, and can I just say something about the idea of including the stories of couples in the series? You know, that was really important to us from the very beginning. You know, in your kind of standard dating series, you would never tell a story of people who were already together, who had already met. And that was really important to us, to include the stories of people like Ruth and Thomas, just to show people out there are people making it work. There are people having great relationships, you know, and yeah, that's why we included Ruth and Thomas, and everything they have to say in the series is so important, I think, you know, and really happy that we found them and that they were happy to be a part of it.
No, it was, we were very glad to take part.
Well, we're so happy. I think I can speak for everybody on this call and say that we're so happy that you also took part. And Chloe, you know, in the show, you got to be filmed on some first dates. And so I would love to hear your perspective if maybe, you know, watching a first date happen, which thinking about watching a first date I've been on is like, I don't know what that would feel like for me. I'm curious if you learned anything watching yourself on TV in that regard.
Oh, okay. When it first came out on ABC, I was able to watch myself, but now it's on Netflix. I tried watching it again, but I was like, no, it's too much. I just skipped past all my parts. But with Marcus, I can't watch that day. I get through a little bit, but it's just so weird seeing yourself on TV. But with the date with Float, it went so well. I can watch it and I'll be smiling. Like, I can watch. That's the only bit of the show I can watch without cringing. Well, my bit, but yeah, and it's just really awkward just to see yourself on TV, and especially on a date. It's a bit overwhelming, and especially that so many people have watched it, and I get recognised quite a bit, and yeah. I had people like come up. I was in the shops the other day, and I had like a group of people come up and like, "Oh my God, you're Chloe," and ask for photos. And it's nice. It gets a bit overwhelming because people say, "Oh, you're famous." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm just Chloe, just Chloe."
But Chloe, you came across so well, and I think, and people really loved you so much, and I think that's something, you know, I guess about a series like this is that, you know, this series is about showing people and everything that's great about them, and you know, I'm hoping that all the feedback you've had has been really positive.
Yeah, it actually has. I had like a few bad comments, but a lot of it being really positive, especially with me being bisexual and LGBTQ. A lot of people in that community reached out to me and said that they liked the way that I was portrayed, and and how I was raising awareness for not only the community but also autism as well. Yeah.
I have so many questions that I want to continue asking, and I need to be kind and share. And so I want to start off our Q&A section by just asking a question that was submitted by one of the 18-year-old participants in our community. And he says, "Hello, I'm 18 and on the spectrum. I'd love to meet a nice girl. Any advice?" So that goes out to really anyone on the panel, but maybe Thomas, Chloe, Jodi, if you have any advice.
Yeah, well, I think you got to find and join a community that you can engage with. I think is the first step. You're not going to meet anyone in your home, I don't think. So, I mean, when I say joining a community, it doesn't even have to be a physical community meeting at a building or whatever. It could just be a Facebook group or a click on Twitter, for example. Just joining a community and start meeting people, I suppose, is the first step there. As for the rest of it, well, don't ask me. It happened to me, but I've no idea how.
Show us the lucky star you were born under.
The sun. Yeah.
We can totally go to our next. That was great advice. We can totally go to our next question.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to give a huge shout out also to Yara Kedem, who is the director of our National ReelAbilities program, who has selected these questions tonight and will be opening the mics and has really put this entire program together. So I think we're starting with Miranda Lee. Miranda, you're on the air.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So hi. I have two questions. So the first one is directed at everyone, and I think Thomas answered this a bit, but I was curious about what your main takeaways from working on the show were. The second one is more specific to Thomas, Chloe, and Jodi. It's a bit more of a personal question. So I'm a queer person on the autism spectrum, and I've been in previous relationships before, and just a general struggle I have is with overthinking. Since it's like, well, once you're in the relationship, how do you just be in it? I feel like there are all these ideas that are in your head, and then when they're not met, it's like, well, what's happening? So I'm just curious about that advice of just knowing when you're with a person and knowing that how to just like be with that person and trust that you can be with that person.
Yeah. If I can start really quickly, I think one of the things that really makes Ruth and I work well together is because we're both on the spectrum. We can just be who we are. We don't have to pretend to be. We don't have to pretend to be neurotypical. We don't have to pretend to fit in. We can just be who we are, and we understand each other. So we understand that the other person is overthinking things sometimes, or a lot of the time, we should probably say. So yeah, having someone who's on the same team, as it were, who understands what you're going through, I think really helps with that. Does anyone else want to jump in on that one?
I do a lot of stuff, Miranda. Did you want to say something?
Oh, you go.
Chloe? You speak, Chloe.
You go.
Well, you're probably able to answer this 100 times better because you are autistic. In my role, if I'm working with people, it's really helping somebody. So they call it perseverated thinking. So persevering thinking, Miranda. So that's and I think every person that I work with, not just autistic people, this is a general thing for all of us. We all overthink, particularly if we're emotionally invested in that person. We really want it to work, and so we think about all the different angles. But I think particularly when you're an autistic person, it's part of just the neurology, and it can be thinking about me, and so your anxiety can get a little overwhelming within that. But Chloe, you might be able to speak better to that because I'm sure you've experienced what Miranda's experienced.
Yeah, well, I had trouble with emotions and body language and all that. I still have trouble with it now, but I used to watch a lot of movies, and I used to get all my experiences from the movies. So I thought romance would be like this, like this romantic comedies and Disney. I thought love and relationships was going to be like that, but when I got my first relationship, I kind of realized it wasn't, and I kind of based a lot around my life on movies and what I read in books. And I think that's I think that's very common with people with autism. They kind of base their lives on their beliefs, on what they had, or I copy. So I copied my parents, like with emotions, because I had trouble with it. So if my mum cried or my sister cried, I cried, because it was sort of like a natural habit. But now that I've been on several dates and I've been on the show, I kind of realised that life isn't a movie, and relationships are hard. They're difficult. Yeah. No matter who you're with, they're difficult, and they're not going to be perfect. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have times where you disagree, and there's going to be times where you both overthink and things spiral out of control. But what can I say? As long as your partner, you understand each other, and you have like this, or like I'm going to go Ruth and Thomas. Like you can see on screen, they're perfect together. Yes, and there's times where things might not be so perfect, but they are amazing together. And Thomas is so funny. So hyping up Thomas, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, hyping up Thomas, but yeah, like Thomas and Ruth, I think they're a perfect couple. Poor thing's not going to be perfect, but they understand each other, and I think that's really important in a relationship. And you have to understand each other.
Yeah, no, it really is understanding each other, and understanding that your partner is going to have these anxieties and whatnot, and being able to reassure them, I think really is important. So yeah, there is no such thing as a perfect relationship, but there is when you find it.
Sorry, I was muted. Before we move on to the next question, I'm just going to say, stay tuned to the end, because there's going to be a very special announcement from Cian about the production towards the end of this that I think you'll all want to hear and be a part of. But moving on to our next question, we have a question from Ben Jones.
Is it possible that you could help? I'm gay and my first question is, I'm gay and autistic. Is it possible that you could help me find another autistic boyfriend?
So Ben, I'm going to make your question a little bit more generalizable, if that's okay. So you're talking about being gay, being autistic, and wanting to find a boyfriend. So maybe just some tips in where you go to find people who maybe have similar interests, or any hints or tips as you were navigating the dating world, Chloe or Thomas, on any tips.
I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat box about dating, and I think you have to be love experts now and sharing your experience.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna.
Oh,
Thomas, you go. You go, Thomas. I'll go.
Yeah, I'll just be quick then. I don't think there is any sort of magic formula that you can follow to meet someone. But I will always say that first step is joining a community of some sort. I met Ruth through a church that I was invited to go to, and her sister introduced us together. So it is about, to begin with, I think finding a community where you can find some like-minded people who have similar hobbies or something that you can get involved with. So yeah, step number one, I think for me, is always going to be going out, meeting people in some kind of community that you feel a part of. Did you want to add on to that, Chloe?
I agree with everything Thomas said. Especially try joining groups or getting out there. And with being LGBTQ, it's a lot. I found out after filming it, a lot autistic people are queer in the community, and there's quite a big community out there. So I'm all over the place, but maybe don't rush in. I know relationships sound great and it might be something that you really want, but don't rush into it. Don't force anything, meet someone in community, talk. Don't fall on rush into a relationship, because that's not going to work. You need to take it slowly. But yeah. Yeah.
Hope that helped.
Yeah.
Our next question we'll take from Mark Labadorf. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. Thank you, Isaac. First of all, hi, I'm a huge fan of all of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My question is actually for Thomas. It's a two-part question. First, congrats on your marriage. Can you tell us a little bit about how the wedding was? And second, as a fellow transit enthusiast myself, I was so excited and mostly really jealous that you moved to a home that looks over a train station. Can I ask you how you're liking this home, and how many trains do you see past the station every day?
Yeah, well, we'll start with the wedding then, shall we? It was the 4th of July this year. It started, I caught the train into the city, and then I caught the City Cat, which is our little river ferry, up to my mum's place, where I got ready. My best man, Matt, he drove down there in his car, which is actually a bus. So we got ready at my mum's place. We went down to Ruth's place in the bus, which is fantastic. It was a retired city council bus, so it's still in the yellow and blue livery that we use. But we had on the destination sign 407 for the date. It was married life via Chermside West, I think is what we had on it when we were going to the wedding. We ended up at Ruth's place. It was in a dead-end street, so we had to reverse this bus all the way down the street. And I remember there was one moment where I was at the back of the bus walking beside it, spotting for Matt, who was driving. And these two ladies were in a car on the side of the road looking at us very quizzically, and they said, what's going on? And I just looked back, I was like, I'm getting married. So yeah, we were there in the bus. It was quite lucky. initially it was going to be a wedding sort of like this, everyone logging in over the internet to watch, but luckily where we are in Brisbane, the restrictions lifted just the day before, and we could have up to 100 people at a gathering. So we were able to, at very much the last minute that week, say to everyone we'd invited, hey, you can actually now come to us. So we were very lucky to have a lot of our friends and family there. It was a lot of fun. Ruth spilt a glass of strawberry milk onto my nice vest while we were giving our speeches. And yeah, it was a really great night. One thing which was really important for Ruth was, much like the filming, knowing that she was able to take a break. So she had her own little nest made down in her parents' basement that she could retreat from all the guests from, which was very good. And she spent a bit of time down there calming down, because it was quite an overwhelming day. The end of the night, Ruth and I got on the bus and we drove up to our house. At that point, we changed the destination sign to just married Mr. and Mrs. Wyndham, with a little sort of dancing. There you go. Cian's got the image on his phone there. It was really a lot of fun. Thanks for showing that, Cian. It was really a lot of fun. And yeah, the house, the number of trains we see every day. We get trains half hourly or every 15 minutes in the peak. It's just a little suburban branch line, so we only get little electric commuter trains, which is not as noisy as other lines, which have got the big loud diesel freight train. So it is nice and quiet, despite this wall here being only 9 meters away from the railway line. It is an absolutely amazing little house. I think we're definitely incredibly lucky to have been able to buy this house so close to public transport, which Ruth needs, and which I love, of course. Yeah. Was there anything else in that question? I'm trying to think. I think we've just about covered it, haven't we?
Well, Thomas, when we were speaking before, I'm wondering if you could say specifically why you chose July 4th.
Why we chose July 4th. It was the weekend, and it was when we could get it done. Initially, we had planned to get married in April. We had a huge, not really huge, but a larger wedding planned at a proper event and everything, but that was unfortunately cancelled. So it was just a case of getting married as soon as we could. After that, Ruth really needed her sister to be there, and she works in regional Queensland. So it was waiting for an opportunity when her sister was allowed to travel again to come to Brisbane. And yeah, it wasn't so much picking the date as finding a date when we could. Yeah, no, it was definitely a great day and a date to remember, because if I don't, I'll be in trouble.
We're going to take the next question from Maura Egan. Maura, are you able to ask it?
Can you hear me? Is my mic working okay?
Beautifully.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. It cuts out sometimes, so hopefully it'll stay. I wanted to thank Chloe and all of you, but Chloe raised the issue of finding it difficult to watch herself, and some of the moments that she said made her cringe a bit. So I wanted to thank Chloe for doing this, even though there are parts that make you cringe a bit. And I guess for Cian, I wondered, could you talk a little bit about what criteria you might have used for including some of the awkward first date moments? And are there criteria that you would have used to maybe decide to leave a perhaps awkward moment private between the dating couple, because of the fact that some of the couples might find it difficult to watch later? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I guess firstly, you know, the first thing to say is that everyone who takes part is, you know, very wanting to be involved in the series, and we're very clear about what the series will involve. People come to us, you know, so you know, everyone who takes part is absolutely happy to be a part of it and understands it. But we, you know, absolutely we try and respect people and their stories as much as we can. And you know, there are moments when we're in the edit and we're looking at the telling stories where we actually pull things out that might make good television, but we don't think represents the person in a great way. So we do. We're very conscious of that as well. You know, it's really important to us that our participants come across well, and that we're not doing them a disservice in any way by including particular things that might happen, for example, in a date. So absolutely, that's something we're really conscious of.
Cool. We have a question from Katie Pellich. Katie, you're on the air.
Hi. Sorry, I'm tuning in from the car, so I hope you guys can hear me. Thank you all so much for answering our questions. My question is for Jodi. I was wondering how your role has looked different during the pandemic. Have you been facilitating any Zoom dates or online dating?
Well, we're very fortunate here in Australia. We haven't had the impact that COVID-19 has been having in the US. So we're fortunate in that way. So we had initial lockdown, and Australia's a very big country. So I suppose to help you, Katie, my role mainly is that as a therapist, I work either with individuals one-on-one, or I work with doing couples counselling with people. So I actually don't set up sort of any dating events or speed dating events. The things that were seen on the show were organisations or different, you know, places within Australia that just run those events. My role is mainly to help people that are seeking help, just like you go to any psychologist or counsellor to seek help with that. But I work both online with people. There's many autistic people that actually find it easier to work online with somebody rather than being in the same space with them. But I also work nationally, so I do a lot of travel around. So that was probably the biggest impact for me with the pandemic, is that I had to move everything online and had to do all counselling and support online one-on-one with people. What I found really interesting is that many of the autistic people I work with found that really great, and I found it absolutely awful. What I found is that I had great difficulty when I'm online with people understanding their body language, had difficulty picking up the emotion, and 9 times out of 10, the great part about that is that autistic people just would say to me, well, welcome to autism, Jodi, that if you're having trouble with picking up our, you know, emotional interaction and body language, because I find this interaction quite complex and difficult. So it's actually been a really great process for me to have an much more empathic understanding of what the reality of autism actually looks like for some people. Does that answer your question, Katie? Oh, she's gone.
I think so. I think you did a good job. I wanted to ask a question as far as the Netflix piece in all of this. I would love to hear at what point this moved from, as you put it, a small Australian production into an international phenomenon. And why do you think this spoke so universally? What was it about the show that really allowed the world, and I'm assuming you're getting the feedback. We know here in America it's a huge hit, but really I'm sure around the world it's reaching audiences.
What do I think about it is what made it. Well, I guess firstly, yeah, Netflix had heard about it, you know, through the grapevine. So they approached us and had a look at it, and were just, you know, they fell in love with it. And I think, well, I mean, I think the answer is the participants, you know, the answer is Thomas and Chloe and Jodi and Michael and Mark and, you know, all of those guys. I think that the answer is that they're just really great people that are really interesting, and people loved hearing their stories and getting to know them better. You know, I think that's what it was. I mean, I would like to think that my filmmaking skills had something to do with it, but it's probably not much at all compared to the participants themselves, really. You know, I think it's just the people we found. And you know, we were talking with Jodi before about how did she get involved. I mean, I remember the day we first spoke to Jodi, you know, straight away we knew that she'd be great. She's just got that wonderful warmth about her, and the way she works with people is really human. It's not that kind of academic thing where it's very, I don't even know the word, but she, you know, Jodi's just got a great warmth and a great way of engaging with people. Chloe, we knew straight away when we met Chloe, we thought she's wonderful. You know, she would be great to be involved in this. Same with Thomas. So. Yeah, I think it's just the people and their great stories. I mean, I often say to people that this series really is a character-led documentary series disguised as a dating show, in essence. And I think that's kind of what it is in a way. You know, it's really about getting to know people. That's what it's about. It's about getting to know these great individuals, and I think that's why people like it. You tell me.
Yeah.
What do you guys? Why do you think it's done well?
Thomas.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, at least, you watch it and you leave it feeling happier. You leave it feeling good. Whereas, are we allowed to say a lot of other rubbish that's out there? It's really sort of greasy, fatty television, and you feel sort of icky after you've watched it. Whereas I think this you leave it think. You know, being up in Brisbane, I didn't get to meet any of the other people on the show, but I really wanted to meet everyone on that show because they're just, you know, a great group of people who you want to meet. I think that really helps. It's it makes you feel good. It's a lot better than all the other shows that are out there. So it's not Bachelor in Paradise.
And I'd love to sneak in another question actually for Chloe. Ethan, do you feel comfortable asking?
Yes. Hi, hi everyone. My name is Ethan. I'm a participant in part of JCC adaptations, and I am also, I have autism and I'm LGBT. And the question I had was for Chloe, which and the question is, you know, one of the things I was going to say, first of all, I find in my personal experience as someone with autism is that I find that I have like that I'm kind of like a Superman or Peter Pan, and the combination of both of those things makes me feel that way. And my question I had for you, Chloe, was in your personal experience, but both of those things, did you feel the same way?
Obviously, I don't think of myself as a superhero. Like, I know I'm different, but that's a really hard question. But I guess I'm going to go on another story. So, Shanae and Jimmy, they're my really close friends, and I happened to get on the show. But Jimmy, we had a conversation, and he said if he was ever a superhero, his thing would be autismo, and we made like a whole story about it. But I think it's different for everyone. Like I think I'm normal. Well, I know I'm not the same as everyone else, but I don't think I'm not different. Oh, that's a really hard question.
It's okay. Sorry.
I get so I know I have autism, but I try and not let that dictate my whole life. And but yeah, I know I'm different, and I think with autism it makes me who I am. I wouldn't be the same. And like I said on the show, I was bullied. If I wasn't bullied, I'd be someone completely different. And I think autism is, well, it's a positive aspect of me. Yes, there's some downfalls. Yes, there's that things that are not so nice. But I think autism helped me to be who I am, and but like that, I would have like a similar experience. I wouldn't think of myself as a superhero, but I know I'm different, and I think my differences are positive. Like, I'm more unique, and there's certain things in my autism that makes me, I don't know how do you explain it.
I hate to say it, but autism makes us more colorful.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. This is my yeah, no, I have, as you could see, my room is very shiny, so I agree with you, Thomas.
Cian, let me take this opportunity to jump in and ask, maybe you could share a little bit. People are curious what's happening next for the show. Maybe you could share some surprises.
Sure. Okay. Well, so we are in advanced stages of development of making a US version of Love on the Spectrum. So we are really keen to hear from anybody who's interested in chatting to us and you know, who might want to be involved. So please feel free to get in touch. We're looking for a really diverse range of people. We want to tell as many different kinds of stories as possible. And we have an email address that people can write into. You know, if you're interested, send us a photo, maybe a little bit about yourself, and we'll get in touch. So should I just say what the email address is? Is that probably the best plan?
That might be a good way to do it.
Yeah, so it's production, so PRODUCTION, production at northernpictures.com.au. So Northern Pictures is NORTHERN, pictures PICTURES.com.au. So production at northernpictures.com.au if you're interested in chatting to us. And obviously writing in doesn't mean that, you know, we can involve you in the series, but it's a great way to just have a quick chat to us and get to know more about what we're doing, and we can get to know you, and we take it from there.
I want to thank you all. I'm going to hand things back to Alex in a moment, but I just want to give a big thank you to all of the folks who joined us from Love on the Spectrum. Thank you for being here. Thank you for a fantastic show. Thank you for lightening our lives and being a part of our community. I want to give another big thank you to Yara Kedem, who put this all together, and to our Shirley Silver Center for Special Needs at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan, who collaborated on this and made it such a fantastic event, and Alex Lopinto, who moderated this beautifully. Alex, I'm going to hand things back to you.
Thank you. I want to echo those sentiments and saying thank you, Thomas, Chloe, Jodi, and Cian. Thank you so much for taking your morning, how's tomorrow looking in Australia, your morning to join us today. We so appreciate it. I do want to say that I'm hearing a lot of sentiments around meeting people and about connecting to a community. And if anyone has questions specifically about joining a community at the JCC, I would be happy to talk to you. We have communities, teens, adults, social opportunities, and also have had dating programs in the past as well. So feel free to reach out to me. I can put my email address in the chat as well. And it was so incredible seeing so many adaptation participants on the event tonight as well. Are there other things that I should say as the moderator?
Can I thank everyone who was watching? Not only the show, but everyone here today, or tonight, I should say. It's been really fun to talk to you all tonight.
Yeah, thanks for being interested, and thanks for, you know, appreciating the series. We really, you know, it really means a lot.
And if people wanted to stay for a few moments and kind of meet each other, talk more about the series, introduce themselves, you're welcome to stay on the link, I think, for another 10 minutes or so. I'm getting the nod from Isaac. That feels good. 10 minutes or so. So feel free to stay on the link. I know we have a lot of people joining, so feel free to do so. And again, thank you to our panel so much. We so appreciate you being here, and we'll look out for that US version.
And look out for more ReelAbilities programs also coming up, and our 14th annual festival will be coming up also the end of April in New York, so be sure to join us then, but many programs before that. So thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.